It's a very special episode of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. KSL's Jay Stevens is going to be joining us talking about all things Utah hockey, so be sure to stay locked on.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your number one daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club. I'm your host, Robyn Leano. Tom Callahan is off today, but we got a guest joining us to talk some Utah Hockey Club action. And Jay Stevens, he does a lot of stuff over at KSL, the Utah Puck Report. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the Utah Puck Report.
Utah Puck Report does a lot of other things. Has known to be an EBUG as well, the emergency backup goalie, if you guys are familiar with that. But Jay, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, and it's glad to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I look for any opportunity to talk about hockey, and I'm excited to talk about our team, and appreciate that you've got all the knowledge of all the players that we're getting over here, and glad that you're going to stay involved with it.
Oh, we're really glad to be a part of this. And the Utah Hockey Club is really making something new for themselves with having this new team and really capturing up the excitement of this. I still live here in Arizona, but I'm able to listen to and just like see the excitement from afar. But of course, I'm not there. I'm not boots on the ground. You are. What is that like right now?
It's been unbelievable, and sometimes just overwhelming to be able to go to the Delta Center, which it's a building. Honestly, I work right across the street from the Delta Center. KSL is literally right across the street, and I had not been in the Delta Center for a couple of years, except for this year. I went to Duran and Guns N' Roses there, and I was like, oh, this is a nice building again. And we have the Frozen Fury there. And you always kind of wondered, like, what would the actual fan base be like if we got a team? And I'd had arguments with people all the time, especially, the people in the know. And they'd be like, oh, there's just not the following. And then to have the announcement and to go and see the Delta Center packed. And even before that, I was at the airport when the team landed. And it was just lines of kids. I mean, you've seen the footage, but it's what you missed is that they couldn't fit all the kids into that airplane hangar. This is an airplane hangar that fits giant jets, and we couldn't fit all the kids into it that were there that wanted to see the team. And then they go to the Delta Center that night, and it's packed, and they had to turn away thousands of people. And, we're not talking about obstructive seating or anything there. They put every seat available, plus stuff on the ice, and every seat was filled with people chanting, well, Yeti and let's go Utah. So the response has just been insane and so cool to be a part of it.
And what's really amazes me, Jay, is knowing that response is the way it has been in just this short amount of time. We only knew about this move from Arizona to Utah about 3 months ago, right? It just announced 3 months ago. And within, a week when they did their welcome, they had that instantly.
Yeah. And Robyn, let me tell you, it's pretty crazy because a few months ago, I got just a random email from the Jazz that said, hey, we appreciate that you've been covering hockey. Would you like to come in and talk about the potential of hockey in Utah, what that could look like? And I said, yeah, sure, let's do some stuff. And then we started talking about possibly just me doing a story on what the Delta Center renovations could look like. And then I all of a sudden had a meeting with Ryan Smith, and Ryan and I sat down and talked about everything. Like they said, this is going to be a 15-minute meeting. And that guy's so passionate about whatever he's involved in. Our 15-minute meeting turned into about a 2-hour meeting. And he was saying, I think within the next 2 to possibly as long as 5 years from now, Utah gets an NHL team. This is exactly the conversation I had with him. This was in April. And he's like, it's a 2 to 5 year deal. I was like, all right. And he's like, let's have another meeting. Let's talk about it. Let's kind of start this promotional. Let's start people talking about what it could be like. And then all of a sudden I got another call and he said, it's happening right now. It's happening. We're getting a team right now. So even Ryan wasn't, unless he's the best actor ever, he wasn't aware he was getting a team that quick. So yeah, all of a sudden we went from a 2-year plan to a 2-month plan, and he's pulling it off, and it's huge. I mean, the renovations that they're doing to the rinks to make them better, where they're going to put the new rink is going to be amazing. So it's a lot to take on, and a lot of people don't think about all the tasks that you have to do, but it's pretty impressive.
It really is really impressive. And you had a chance to talk with, some, actually like, players and individuals from the organization outside of that. Is anyone that you've talked to so far who you're just like, I really like this dude, I can't wait for him to play for the Utah Hockey Club?
Dursey, man. Okay. Like, Dursey's the most fun interview, and he could talk forever. But honestly, being from this market, and I'm not trying to, the Jazz, the NBA, those players have their own kind of approach to the media, but the NHL is not that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been a hockey player my whole life, and I've been around hockey players, and I kind of expected this, but the media has been blown away here by how nice and genuine the players are. But for me personally, I get to interview a ton of guys, and Clayton Keller, he's a great interview. He's been trained to be he's professionally trained to be what he is, and they literally teach you some of that stuff at Shattuck St. Mary's. But he's been fun. But Dursey, man, that kid is just fun to interview, down to earth, just funny. And sometimes he's hard to stop talking. When you try to fit in a commercial, he doesn't care about that.
Absolutely love that. Yeah, Dursey's has always been known to be a really good guy. Another guy here I want to get your opinion on. Maybe I'm pretty sure, I talked to as media, but also kind of going back to what you're talking about when it came to that welcome day. And in Liam O'Brien, when he introduced himself as Spicy Tuna and getting that kind of introduction, what's the love been like for someone like him? Because it seems that it's just he's getting a lot of it.
Yeah, he won the crowd over instantly, and Utah clings to him. And every day I get some kind of a something tagged. You know how it is when you're in the media part and somebody sees something, and whatever he's out doing, if he posts a picture of him and his child or him and his dog, we get tagged in it. So I imagine everybody in Utah that has Twitter or X or Instagram, I think they all went and found him and just started following him right away. And man, talk about, and he was an unrestricted free agent. So you want to talk about increasing your value immediately. I mean, there was no question they were going to re-sign him, but after that, after he stole the show, there was no way they weren't going to re-sign him.
Absolutely. We're talking of Jay Stevens of KSL and the Utah Puck Report, talking about the Utah Hockey Club coming into Salt Lake City, getting ready for their first season this fall. We're going to continue this conversation. Maybe talk some local scene hockey, what's coming up. We'll do that right after this. We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search. Match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work and use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employees agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners in the show get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about it Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. You need to hire. You need Indeed. So Jay, one of the things that I want to talk to you about now, really quick, is that local scene hockey. You've been around and hockey in the state of Utah for quite a long time. You know the scene. You know what it's like. Even before the announcement that Utah was here, and even talked about sitting down with Ryan Smith before this even all went down. what is this local scene like? What are the youth programs like? What are the college programs like?
We're pretty lucky. Since the last Olympics, we've just been growing. We keep growing. Every year, there's more hockey players. I think we have 11 sheets of ice right now. That's about to almost double. We're going to put in at least a double or a triple sheet for the practice facility for the Utah Hockey Club. There's a really gorgeous facility being built up in Park City. Another one that's not officially announced going in St. George at a resort there. So it's growing. We've got multiple well-ran youth organizations. They're ran by the county. They're ran by multiple travel agencies that have been competitive and have been putting kids into NCAA programs or in the USHL or in the NUL. And then we've got 4, maybe 5 teams in the that are junior A, tier 2, tier 3. So there's a lot of that as well. And then we got 4 ACHA college teams. So I was lucky enough to play for 2 of them. I went to Weber State University. I came out of North Dakota and played here at Weber State, got my degree there, and then was able to transfer over to the University of Utah and played another year. So I played like 7 years of college hockey. And I'm not a doctor, but I got a lot of hockey played. And those programs are still there. They're doing well. They just posted its Weber State and Utah State University's 30-year anniversary. So those programs are here. They're established, and they just keep growing and getting better. I did talk to Gary Bettman when he was here, and he's talking about, they do a survey to see if these schools would be, ready to go to the NCAA, and 2 of them already are, with a possibility of a third. So Weber State has a rink on campus. They could easily go NCAA. University of Utah has a rink on campus. It's a double sheet. It was an Olympic facility, and they've got like the support staff to make it happen right away. And then Utah State's right there. They're close to being ready as well. So hockey here is good now. It's going to get way better. I expect to kind of see what you saw with Vegas over the next 5 years.
And a rapid growth like that is really awesome to see. And again, just to see that, specifically with those college programs that you mentioned, and see how close they could be to an NCAA program. I know as someone, I attended the University of Arizona. I used to go to a lot of ACHA, Wildcats games whenever they played. I think mostly Utah. I think University of Utah a couple times. I think once or twice against Utah State. But those games were always fun to watch, and I think they always put on a good program over there too. If we can get all of them up to NCAA, wouldn't that be awesome? Get a little West Coast division over here.
There could be a whole Pac-12 thing going on. Yeah, there really could be, because I know Oregon's trying, USC's trying. You got ASU's already done it. They're kind of the template right now, right? Everybody's seen what ASU's done. That was fun to kind of be around and watch that happen. We actually had a Utah player that was playing there last year in Hank Levy, and that was fun to see. Finally get a Utah player there. But it can happen. U of A is right there. I think they're super close. NAU used to have NCAA hockey,
right,
back in the day. I think they lost it in like the early 90s, but so it could happen, and then we could be going to we could have our own big tournaments like the Beanpot tournament here. We could have like a brine shrimp something or other in Salt Lake, or I don't know. We could do something fun with it.
It would be really cool to see, and again, like I said, I'm always for growing hockey in unique areas, and specifically at the youth and community side. Those who are following from what was previously the Locked On Coyote shows know that I did a lot of episodes in which I interviewed a lot of those people who were part of growing those programs. So to hear what's going on over in Utah is awesome, and seeing that. One thing I want to ask you about is that overall a little bit more history of Utah, because from my understanding is this is Utah Hockey Club right now. It's not the first time that that professional hockey is in Utah.
No, we've had professional hockey dating back to the 50s. There were a couple years in the 90s that we didn't have a team, but we've had the Salt Lake Golden Eagles, I want to say since 1958. I could be wrong, and I just did a show on it like 3 weeks ago, but I believe it was 1958. The Salt Lake Golden Eagles were established. They're part of the WHL, which was professional back then. They grew. They were affiliates for the St. Louis Blues, the Minnesota North Stars back in the day, Calgary Flames, which stuck for a long time. And then the Golden Eagles grew into the IHL, which was AAA at the time, and we were still affiliated with the Islanders. So we had Ziggy Palffy and some big names that came through here. Theron Fleury, Joe Mullen, Mike Smith was a goaltender here. So, and then the Eagles went away for a couple of years, and we got the Utah Grizzlies in the AHL at the time, and so they were here for a while. That's when Mike Smith played here, and we had some really big players come through here. So we've had professional hockey, we've had minor league hockey here for a long time. The Utah Grizzlies took a step back 10 years ago. They were in the A. They slipped down into the ECHL just for the travel budgets, because who knew that the AHL would blow up on the West Coast the way it has. So it just made sense that we'd go back to the A. And I think that's what all Utah hockey fans were hoping for. We were hoping to get AAA hockey back. And, the Vegas Golden Knights talked about it. We've got an Olympic facility already built with great seats. There's not a bad seat in that building. And yeah, it's 20 years old now, but it's still an amazing facility. I've been lucky enough to be the EBUG there for the last 26 years. So I get to practice in it, and it's a great hockey rink. It's a great barn. And I think we'll get AHL hockey back, but now we've got the NHL too. So it's just pretty crazy. And there's been some diehard fans that have just supported it from day one. And it's fun to see them get rewarded with the NHL team.
I want to talk to you about the Grizzlies in just a second, in that you mentioned, because all things you mentioned about that. But since you mentioned it and that you were an EBUG for so many years, those that are new to hockey, by the way, EBUG is emergency backup goalie. What is that like to essentially be that that emergency backup? What's the call like, if for when you get that? It's like, oh, we need you.
Yeah, it's different for the AHL and the ECHL than it is for the NHL. In the AHL or the ECHL, they call you and they say, "Hey, we need you for the whole weekend," and it could be the home team or the visiting team. You're just kind of like the house goalie, and they're like, "We need you for the weekend," or "We need you for today," or whatever. So you show up and you actually dress and practice. You do the morning skate. You warm up with the team. You sit on the bench, and and then there's out once every 250 games, you get put in a game because other bad things happen. It's pretty crazy to have a real life job, and you go and you skate the morning skate, and all the rest of the guys are going back to the hotel, and they're going to go grab their power nap and their healthy lunch, and I was coming home and chasing kids around and getting them to soccer practices and to and from school, or changing diapers or whatever, or doing my real job, going as a fireman, and then getting back to the rink at 5 o'clock with all those well-rested guys. And this is where, that's my serenity, was getting to the rink and dressing and sitting on the bench for a game. And at the NHL, it's not that way. Normally, you have to have an EBUG in the building every game. So
Right.
most NHL teams have 3 to 5 EBUGs, and they just rotate through, and they never really see the ice, or if they do, it's pretty rare. So
It's just really cool to hear about all that, though. When whenever it does happen, that the rare occurrence when we hear about the emergency backup goalies, where it's like, oh, this guy is an accountant in his day job, or this person is the Zamboni driver for the minor league franchise.
Nope.
And in your case, you're a fire captain, correct? So you said, so it's
Nope.
it's just really cool to hear about all that. He's like, that's what you do for your day job, but occasionally you get the call and he's like, all right, I'm dressed up for to potentially play in a game in a professional hockey game.
And it's pretty nice. And it was, I guess I had dreams of being put in games back when I started, when I was like 23 or whatever. Once I knew I wasn't going to be a professional hockey player, I became a firefighter. And I kind of hung up the dream right then. And then I started getting phone calls like, hey, we need a goalie. We need somebody with gear. And the cool thing about being a fireman is I work 48 hours and then I have 96 hours off. So, 2 days on, 4 days off, and I could just go skate every day. And when they give you that call, and sometimes I'd have to get a trade with a guy, be like, hey, can you work 2 hours at the firehouse for me so I go be a Utah Grizzly? Everybody just thought that was crazy. But Matt, I'll tell you what, we sell a ton of tickets to firemen who come and just have some adult beverages and pound on the glass and support the old man, the old captain that's sitting the bench or whatever.
That must be fun.
It's pretty fun. It's my whole life's been fun. I've been pretty lucky, and just to be a part of the Utah Grizzlies for 26 years has been, um, you know, maybe I should have given it up. And I kept telling my wife a long time ago, I'm like, I just want to hit 40 and then I'll just give it up. Or I want to hit, I'm going to hit 45 and then I'm going to give it up and let somebody else do it. And I tried. My son's a goalie. My son actually was talked to ASU back in the day. He's a goalie, and he could have done it, and he didn't want to do it. And these other kids come in, and whether they want to make the team or they just don't get the role of an EBUG. There were just reasons that the teams just keep calling me back. And even a couple of years ago, they gave me an assignment. They said, "Hey, we've got this kid that we just picked up from the LA Kings. He's not getting it, and he needs some life lessons, some discipline lessons, and somebody just to clue him in of why he's been released by two of their clubs because he's got the talent, he just doesn't have the head." And they're like, "Can we assign you to him? Can you do some of your captain stuff to him?" So that's kind of cool. I was like,
That's
"Yeah,
nice." How many times have you dressed?
Dressed hundreds, and I've dressed for every team in the league. I even got to dress for the old Roadrunners back in the day, the Phoenix Roadrunners back in the day with the nice silk blue jerseys. I've dressed for the Phoenix Mustangs. So like I said, I was the house goalie in the WCHL and everything. So I think we looked at it one time. I've dressed for 25 teams and probably 400 games.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
You keep do you keep those jerseys? You have them all?
Nope. No, man, the East Coast League's too cheap.
That's
They would give you a
unfortunate.
jersey.
That's unfortunate.
It was really cool. The first team I ever dressed for, well, I guess that's not true. I dressed for the Idaho Steelheads. I went through camp with them when we were affiliated. They were our AA affiliate when we were still in the AHL. And I went to camp with the Steelheads. The Steelheads released me. I was just planning on coming home, but I got picked up off waivers by the Alaska Aces. And I ended up having a really good relationship with Alaska, and I've got probably 50 games dressed for them, just all over the West Coast. And they would call me whether they were playing in Utah or California or whatever. And when that franchise folded, they sent me both jerseys and a practice jersey and a hoodie and a hat, so that was really cool. But that's like that's the only jersey I've got.
That's just the rare occurrence where that actually happens.
Yeah. Everybody asks me about the jerseys, and I wish I could say that I've got them, but I never did get them. So
one of these days, maybe you'll get lucky again.
Hopefully, there's one team that my goal now is that I've got one team left to dress for that's here. So, and I'd really like to keep that. I'll even buy the jersey if I get a dress for Utah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We're talking with Jay Stevens of KSL and the Utah Puck Report. We're gonna go wrap up our thoughts and get a couple more questions in. We'll do that right after this. And today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games and the sports aren't sporting like they want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets at any time I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everybody every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official betting partner of Major League Baseball. So Jay, one of the things that you mentioned before we went onto the emergency backup goalie talk is talking about the Grizzlies being in the AHL for a while, then moving down to the ECHL. How much talk do you know about them potentially getting back up to the AHL, seeing that they want to? I know that people have been asking me about it, right? People was like, are they going to do it? Because maybe a few years down the road, they can be the affiliate again for the Utah Hockey Club or the Yeti, whatever the name is going to be when that time comes.
Yeah, I have speculation on it. I don't have any actual facts on it. I had rolled out a plan before I'd ever talked to Ryan. and then after him, I kind of revised the plan on what would actually have to happen and how would it look best for Utah. Uh, what makes the most sense to me, anybody else around really, is that uh, the Smith Entertainment Group buys the Maverick Center and buys the Utah Grizzlies, and we're going to get an AHL team anyway.
Mhm.
We were Ryan thought he was going to own Tucson when he was buying. He thought they were buying the whole package, and so when they didn't get the whole package, um, I think they really want that. The ownership really wants the farm club to be here. Again, that's speculation. I'm not trying to put words in Ryan's mouth, but it makes the most sense for them to have an AHL team right here, just like everybody else has their AHL team in their in their same city, basically, right? And Ryan really wants to build up Utah. He talks about Utah. Utah's his family, so it makes sense to me to see that happen. To see the AHL play in the Maverick Center, that would be our affiliate. The ECHL part of that would then go to St. George, where that new rink's going to be built. Um, Again, nobody's told me this, but it looks pretty obvious when you look at what's being built down there.
Right.
And they're also that place in St. George is also affiliated with the Utah Jazz. So it looks to me, and I don't know how basketball works, but if you take your basketball minor league team and your AA hockey affiliate and put them both in that new arena in St. George, it's a slam dunk, to use a basketball term.
Yeah,
So
you're able to sell a lot more, a lot more tickets and have that arena get filled on more nights than not.
yeah, and it's again, building Utah sports. It's Southern Utah. There's nothing else out there right now, professional sports wise. So you put two minor league teams there. I'd really like to see Tucson stay in Tucson. I'd like to
Mhm.
see. Well, I'd love to see the Coyotes come back too. I mean, that's really what we want to see, and for Tucson to stay there. I tried to talk to you know how much time's left in the affiliation. What's the agreement going to be like going forward? And nobody's really even. They're not answering those questions to me yet, and they're still unpacking. It's like Utah hockey still hasn't hired most of their staff. The guys
There's
that came
still a
from
lot.
Arizona, yeah, they're working their butts off, and the Utah Jazz people are doing double work. So to get real good at solid answers on questions we're talking 3 to 5 years down the road, they don't even want to hear it right now. They just want to
Yeah.
get through the next, like, puck drops in 85 days now. So they're just trying to stay alive till then.
Yeah, one of the things that I do know, and it's more of it's based off of is again it's still also based off speculation, but it's seeing at least one bit of fact is knowing that the lease in Tucson at the building is up in 2026 or 2027 and around there, and their idea is to move them to Reno, but that's that's kind of, again, just also partial speculation. I don't know what's going to happen with the Roadrunners. I hope they stay too, because again, that's where I got my career start. I started my entire my professional career covering the Tucson Roadrunners for SB Nation at the time. Like
Well,
been a
look,
long time.
that building's too perfect to not have AHL in it. That they need to stay in Tucson, and I know he owns that resort in Reno, and they're building a rink there. That's fine. You could get an ECHL team to play there. I guarantee the ECHL will grant you one. They just granted one in Tahoe, right?
Right.
So it doesn't make sense to me to have that AHL team leave that, like, a market that loves it, a market that supports it, in a beautiful rink. And, like, I've been there. I think it's great. I think it's perfect for hockey. I think it's perfect for AAA American League hockey. So I would hate to see it not be there anymore.
Yeah. Plus, I just love the culture down there. Like they embrace the the Latino culture and the Southern Arizona history and all what it goes down there. And it's again feels like home whenever I'm down there.
Yeah, that team is part of that community, and it's a huge mistake if they pull it out of that market. I don't think that's going to have anything to do with the Utah
Yeah.
Hockey Club within the next couple. I think there's only 1 year left on the affiliation agreement, but you could be independent. You can divide. Plenty of AHL teams have done it in the past, where they've gotten 5 players from this team and 5 players from another team. That works for a lot of NHL teams. That works for a lot of AHL teams. So it would just be a huge mistake to not have the AHL in Tucson.
Oh yeah, well, we'll definitely have to see though, and that's something that that I'll be keeping an eye on throughout, at least as much as I can throughout the next couple of years. But Jay, as we get close to the end of this, I do want to cover about one or two more questions, and one is, what do you hope the name is, the permanent name for this Utah hockey team?
Oh man, that's the question I ask everybody. It's tough. I thought Yeti right away. I thought Yeti for forever, but the more talk and the more times I see logos, and I've seen Mammoth a lot. I started really kind of falling in love with that. I love Outlaws. I just can't see them actually letting us be the Outlaws. If you have all these groups that are already fighting against Vikings and Pirates, and
Right.
Outlaws are Outlaws. There's a reason they were Outlaws, but we do have like a significant outlaw history here. Jesse James and Butch Cassidy and all that stuff were, they hit in Utah. But when it comes down to it, and you see how excited the kids get about Yeti, I know a lot of people, whatever the affiliation that was with Colorado, and there's other teams called Yeti. It just fits. The kids love it. Honestly, I don't care. I just love having the NHL here. I hated Utah Hockey Club, and now I've been saying it for a month, and I'm fine with it too. But I'm gonna go Yeti. What about you?
It's interesting because like I've been going back and forth between Yeti and Mammoth. I think Mammoth you could do a lot with, right? You could do so much good branding with it. A lot. To be fair, a lot of it I've seen are AI generated, which I'm not a huge fan of. But there are actually some actually fan driven art who really creates something for as much as I can. I've liked much of the marketing and much of the jersey designs that they've done for Mammoth more than any of the other ones. But Yeti, I just love the alliteration, and I get why people would want to use it. It just sounds so easy to say, Utah Yeti. It just flows off the tongue incredibly easy. Blizzard, I've heard a good argument for it, and that one argument is mainly hey, if Ryan Smith wants to have the double Z branding, Jazz and Blizzard, why not? I get the argument, but it's lower in my list. It's between me. It's between Yeti and Mammoth.
Yeah, same. I really think it is. And the other thing about the Utah Yeti is, for us, we have the University of Utah, so you've already got the U, and then you've got BYU, which always has the Y. So with Utah Yeti, you got those both covered, so you can work those into some logos. But yeah, some of those AI generated things were really cool, and I've just put in my design for my new mask, my Utah hockey mask for a goalie, and I just incorporated some of those, all of them in it. Well, I put the Yeti, the Mammoth, and then the Outlaws just silhouetted on the chins in it of some of that AI stuff that you've seen. I really like the Mammoth one the best out of the ones that we've seen.
Yeah, those designs with the Mammoth probably have the best designs, honest. If we're being honest on that one. Last question I want to have for you, and this is something that I've always loved in speculating and just having a really fun thought process on what an outdoor game would look like. I've thought about that for the longest time in Arizona, but where would you put an ideal outdoor game in Utah should one ever come?
We've got a couple really good choices here. It just makes sense that it'd be at Rice Eccles, where the University of Utah football plays. BYU's field holds more. I don't want to say that out loud because that could really happen too. But LaVell Edwards Stadium actually holds more people. It's been talked about being done before. Ryan also owns the soccer team here. You could easily do it at the soccer field here. I don't think you get as many people in. I think that's 15 to 18,000 for soccer. But I mean, we have the places, and we definitely have the cold weather for it. So I'd like to see it at the University of Utah. I think that'd be amazing.
I was actually with you on that. I was thinking about the possibility of that, and because I take a look back for it is now 14 years ago, however long it was, when you had the Winter Classic at Michigan Stadium, and not only they had the Winter Classic there, but there was also an outdoor college game between, I think it was University of Michigan and I forgot who. What was that?
I think it was Michigan State.
Michigan State. There you go. So it was a
Oh.
really big, really big matchup on that one, and people loved it. And imagine years down the road, let's say, University of Utah and and BYU, even if they're not NCAA, give them an outdoor game there. Just have a rivalry game. Have a little college holy war.
Oh yeah.
College holy,
Yeah.
like that, like on the ice. That'd be awesome, right there, right.
Oh yeah.
I'd be for it.
I got to play in a lot of those games when I played at Utah. My last year, get my paramedic. They BYU had a team then. They dropped it a few years ago, but they had a team then, and those were some pretty good battles. And we weren't good hockey players, but we sure sold out crowds and people were into it. Anytime Utah plays BYU in any sport, it's huge here. Just like ASU and U of A for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that'd definitely sell out here, especially with the hockey fever right now. You capitalize this in the next few years.
Oh yeah,
that'd be huge.
That'd be the ideal. Well, Jay, I really want to thank you for coming on. We're just about out on this episode, but I want to usually provide our guests the opportunity in the last minute or two to kind of share what work they're working on right now and where they can find that work, and like anywhere or on social media.
Yeah, so my podcast is the Utah Puck Report. It's on KSLSports.com under under podcasts. It's wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube and Apple and the other stuff. I usually pre-record all that, but yeah, we're everywhere, and I've got unlimited access to the team right now. And every week I'm interviewing a different player or a coach. The GM, the owner. So we're just really trying to get everybody introduced to this. I also just want to say that, I told you before we went on, I went to Arizona. I went to Phoenix Coyotes games the first season. The first NHL game I ever took my son to was a Coyotes versus Red Wings game. I went to a few games every year. I was a huge Arizona and Phoenix Coyotes fan. And I'm sad to see what's happened. Obviously, I'm excited that we're getting a team. I'm sad that it came at the cost of the Coyotes and all the Coyotes fans. It's not fair to the fans. And I just want to invite those fans to be part of us. And, we want to support you guys and love you guys and just enjoy this with you. And hopefully the Coyotes come back someday. But until then, just jump on the bandwagon, come with us, and we'll show you a good time. These are your guys. You watched him grow up. You watched him get drafted. You got to be excited about seeing Tej get drafted. So just jump on board. Come with us. We'll all be friends.
Love to hear that. Well, Jay, thanks again for once again for coming on this show, and thanks to everyone for listening to this episode of Locked On Utah Hockey Club. If you guys liked what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your shows, including on YouTube. We're on SiriusXM, ad-free on Amazon Music if you are an Amazon Prime subscriber. Don't forget to also join our Insider Text Club. You can hit the link in the description, and we'll take you on over there, get you to sign up, be a part of, get some exclusive content, be able to text us one-on-one. All a really good time. So we really highly recommend for that. We're on social media. We're on X, Instagram, Threads at LO_NHL Utah. I am at Robyn_Leano. Thanks again, everyone, once again for listening to this episode, and we'll see you guys next time.